Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater initially came out back in 2004, and since then the game has been remade 4 times. The most recent time happened a couple weeks ago, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This time, though, the remake has hit more of the public eye, as Konami has not released a game in a handful of years, I think since Metal Gear Solid Survive, which effectively killed the franchise and any video games that Konami would make. Since then, they started working on pachinko things, until they remade Silent Hill 2 about a year ago. With this said, a lot of new people are getting introduced to the franchise, with this being their first ever Metal Gear Solid game, as, again, one hasn't released in a long time, with 5 being back in 2016. I want to go over Delta a little bit, and why I think this is now the definitive version of the game, and a great start for anybody who hasn't played the video games at all. To start, this game is branded as a remake, but it's not. It's effectively a remaster. The game is completely rebuilt almost one-to-one. The item placements are the same, the enemy placements, the map design, even how the cutscenes are directed, and the voices are the exact same. The voices are quite literally lifted from the original version. They did get the old cast members back, well, some of them to re-record lines for the tutorial, as the controls are different than they used to be.
Using all the original voice performances, but there are some lines where characters teach you the controls that really don't match anymore. So we actually did get the original actors to re-record just those.
To start off, Delta has been remade entirely in the UE5 engine. Due to this, the game has never looked better. Some of these models are fantastic. I mean, just look at the details on Snake's face here. A lot of the characters have gotten quite the facelift. Here's the boss, Ocelot, even Volgin looks way more grotesque with the scars. Beforehand, they kinda just looked like markings, but now you can really tell how badly disfigured he is. In terms of gameplay, they've added a new style to the game. So when booting up the game and starting a new save file, you get to choose between 2 styles, the new style and the legacy style. In the legacy style, the game uses its usual overhead camera where it's locked in place, and all the aiming is done in first person. This is perfect for people who want the original style and feeling of the game, while, still playing with an updated engine. The other style is called New Style. This allows the camera to essentially be more in the third-person style behind the character, like it would in a normal third-person action game. You're also allowed to move around and aim and fire while still in the third-person view. You could still go into the first person, and hell, you could arguably play the full game in first person like this if you wanted to, if you don't mind, moving slower. The main downside of the new style has honestly been that a lot of the fights, and I mean the game itself, is way easier. Now that I've got better control, especially in the third person, certain fights like the Pain and the End actually ended up being way easier since I can spot them better. This new style is the first of many quality of life add-ons that they made for this game. To start off with the most basic quality of life, the game now has an autosave feature. So now you don't have to use your codec to call up Paramedic to save the game. Another smaller quality of life update is the fast camouflage. Essentially, in the game, you use camouflage to help you blend in with the environment to make it easier to sneak around enemies. Typically, what you would have to do is you would have to open up your menu, go into your backpack, go to the camouflage, and then swap there. But now, with a press of a button, you can open up all of your camouflage right on the screen there, and then choose what you'd like, without having to go through the menus. In terms of a bigger quality of life update, this version allows you to do crouch walking, which I know sounds kind of ridiculous, but the original versions when you would crouch was only to hide behind cover. When you wanted to move while crouched, Snake would go prone and you'd have to move that way. The 3DS version of the game added crouch walking, and this carries it over. Similar in vein to the camo update, we also have the codec call update. Now on the screen, you can pop up the radio and quickly tab over to the characters you'd like to call. You also still have the tuning function if you'd like to call certain frequencies. This lets it easier to hear all the fun, quirky dialogue that has been brought back.
But without a shirt on, your camouflage sucks, and your stamina goes down faster. You don't get any advantages whatsoever.
Sure there are.
Like what?
It feels good.
Man, you do whatever you want.
I will, thanks. Just one question, though.
What?
Is there a way to take off my pants?
Say what?
My pants, can I?
Oh, hell no! This Fox unit is a nut fest!
Arguably the biggest quality of life update, especially for those who are new, is the addition of a compass. The compass is a gear you can have equipped, and when equipped, it shows in the bottom left of your map where to go. The compass doesn't use battery either, so essentially you can keep it on the entire game and see exactly where Snake needs to go for the next objective. They've added some on-screen pop-ups that let you know when you've been spotted, along with tips that pop up on the right side of the menu that you can completely customize. You can either start with all of them on, or you can have all of them off, along with just displaying certain tips. It is kind of crazy to even mention this feature, because it should be so obvious, but none of the previous Snake Eaters had a quick reload your save function. What you would have to do is go back to the main menu and then pick up your save. But now you can quickly just press the pause button and reload your save. Finally, in terms of new things, they've added a photo mode, which, while personally I've never really cared too much for them in games, I know there's lots of people that love taking pictures, and boy, I actually enjoy looking at the pictures other people have taken. In terms of other updates, they've re-added 2 of the old modes back. The Secret Theater, which allows you to view weird variants of cutscenes, and also the Guy Savage minigame. Both are available right in the menu without having to do anything special in the game, though the Guy Savage minigame can be reactivated in-game through the normal method. One personal touch I like was when you start up a new game, you get to do a couple of different settings. The first one is a question which asks you which Metal Gear Solid game you like, along with if it's the first one you played, and these will give you different bonus uniforms and face camo that you can then use after you complete the game in New Game Plus. The game also features a ton of difficult options, a total of 6 in fact. I know some people, me included honestly, are really awful at stealth, so some of the earlier difficulties really let you feel like a stealthy badass, like Snake is. And then once you get more accustomed with the game, there's a couple harder difficulties, especially the European Extreme, which if you get spotted at all, if the game goes to alert at all, you automatically lose and have to restart. The difficulties also affect the items you have, along with the camos you can use. So it's a nice little way of making the game even harder for yourself. While it's technically not in the game yet, the developers have confirmed a new mode called Fox Hunt. Essentially, it's Metal Gear Online again. Players will engage in stealth-based hide-and-seek PvP modes, but we don't know any more specifics yet. While I've been singing the game's praises, there are a handful of downsides we need to talk about. First off, this is a UE5 engine game, which means it's got plenty of optimization problems, I guess is the right way to put it. Personally, I have an i9 14000 with 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm also using a 4080 Super. So personally, I didn't really run into many tech issues. There's a couple stuttering here and there at the beginning, but after about the first hour or so of the game, I haven't had any issues. But I know a ton of people have having problems, especially the weaker your system is. Also, I think kind of funnily enough, the PS5 Pro runs the game worse than the regular PS5 does. So it wouldn't hurt to wait a couple months or so for a couple patches. Granted, I don't know about the PlayStation versions, but the PC version has been getting some performance update patches, so I'd assume the PlayStation version does too. Likewise with the waiting, the game is also currently $70, which can be quite a lot, especially for a one-to-one remake of an old game. This looks even worse when the PC version, and I guess the other consoles also have the HD collection of MGS3, which honestly works perfectly fine. The game has been out long enough that enough patches have come out to fix any performance issues that it's had, and also the PC version has some modding support. So while I do totally love this version, and I do think it is the best version, it doesn't hurt to wait for a sale if you're not willing to drop $70 for the game, which is super reasonable as $70 is a fuck ton. For the most part though, that's kinda the only real downside, as the original game is fantastic and they've done a great job of re-adding everything that made that game fantastic. Right down to little weird details that you can do with enemies in the game, it's all been re-added to the game. I guess if I had to call out one other bad thing, it's a personal nitpick, but this version of Snake Eater is totally re-recorded, and it's frankly just inferior compared to the original. I don't know why they wouldn't have just taken the old version and brought it back. Especially since I think recently at a panel they had the old singer redo the song live. So I kind of can't figure out why they re-recorded it. With all that said, with just probably a few more patches and then potentially a little bit of a price drop, I do think that this is the best version. The game is fantastic to play, it's tons of fun, it's great for old people and new people alike, whether you are super familiar with the franchise or you're just jumping in for the first time, there's plenty of ways to keep you entertained and really bring in that nostalgic love for the game. The remake in UE5, while of course gives its issues, really brings new life to the game. Visually everything looks fantastic, and something about just how the characters are reanimated in it really makes me love them more, especially Ocelot. I already loved him in the initial game, but I couldn't help but smile every time he was on screen doing whatever crazy thing he was doing in this version. They brought back in all the old features, so at this point, this version really just is a beautified version of all versions of Snake Eater put in together. I completely recommend it, and I completely believe that this is the definitive edition that we will look back on and continuously go to.